Hey guys, welcome to my channel. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I made this ruffled shorts. I came across this design on Instagram and I thought it was really cute, so I said, you know what, let's make a tutorial. And the good thing about it, it's beginners friendly. So if you want to see how I made this, please stick around and let's get into this tutorial. So here are the tools that I used to draft this. You're going to need a very firm curve, an armhole French curve, a short ruler, and a long ruler, and also your pen and markers for marking. The measurements we're going to need to draft these shorts will be the waist, the length, the hip, and then the hip depth, which is marked in green. Because it's a short, so we're going to need the crotch depth. Now this image shows you how to measure that. So here are the measurements I used for this pattern. Now starting off, I'm going to mark 5 inches from the edge of the paper. Now this margin is where the crotch extension will be added. So this line will be my center front, so I'm just going to go ahead and mark that out. To get the width of the pattern, I'm going to use half of my hip measurement, in this case 20 inches. And next I'm just going to extend that line. Next I'm going to divide this new width into 2, so I have half side for the center front and then half side for the center back. So here I'm just going to mark it out like so. So here will be my center back. Next I'm going to mark 10 inches from the top of the paper for my hip depth. I'm also going to measure the same on the CF line, 10 inches. Then I'm just going to connect those 2 points across. To get the waist of the front part of the pattern, I'm going to divide my waist measurement into 4, which in this case, 6.5. Next, I'm going to mark that measurement from the CF towards the side. Now I'm going to go ahead and label here my hip line, same as hip depth. Now using my very firm ruler, I'm going to connect from the waist point to the hip point, just right in the center, like so. To get the waist for the back part of the skirt, I'm going to use 1/4 of my waist measurement, which was 6.5, but in this case I'm going to add 1 inch extra, which I'll be using as the dot allowance, which will make it 7.5. To plot the dot on the waist, I'm going to use half of the back waist measurement, which in this case 7.5 inch divided by 2, which was 3 3/4 inches. Next I'm going to mark my dot length, which was 5 inches. So mark that point and then go from the CB just to have a straight line and mark 3 3/4 inches. Next I'm going to connect and then plot the size of my dots, which was 1/2 inch on both sides of the middle line. Now because the front part of my skirt is not going to have a dot, I'm going to go ahead and lower the waistline on the CF. So here I'm going to mark 1 inch and then just connect to the side using my French curve, like so. So next we're going to turn this skirt into a short. So to do this, I'm going to measure the length of my shorts, which I did from the top, which was 15 inches, and I connect. Next, I'm going to add 2.5 inch for my hem, and then I'm just going to connect. To get the crotch depth, I'm going to measure from the top on the CF line 12.5 inch as my crotch depth. Also repeat the same on the center back, and then I'm going to connect like so. I'm also going to extend that line beyond the CF and the CB. To get the crotch extension, I'm going to use my hip divided by 16 inches. Now you could also divide it by less if you want the fitting around your thigh to be a little loose. So the looser you want your thigh to fit, the lesser you divide it by. In this case, mine was 2.5 inch. So for reference, you could either do hip divided by 12, 14, 16, or 18. Next, I'm going to measure that same 2.5 inch at the hem and then just connect. Now to draw the crotch, I'm going to use my armhole French curve and place it right at an angle, but I'm going to make sure it's as deep as possible on the front part, and then make sure they connect, and then just draw the line like so. To get the crotch extension for the back, I'm going to add 2 inches to the measurement I got as the front crotch extension, which was 2.5. So in this case, it's going to be 2.5 inch and then 2 inch extra, which makes it 4.5 inch. Next, I'm just going to also extend on the bottom and then connect. To draw the crotch for the back, I'm going to use the very firm ruler instead of the armhole one, because you don't want the curve too deep. When it's too deep, it tends to divide the bum. So place it in a way that it's not as deep as the front crotch. So here the pattern for the shorts is pretty much done. The only thing left to do now is to draw the style line. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut the pattern out through the outline. Next, I'm going to mark out the facing for the waistline. So I'm just going to measure 2 inches from the waist down and mark like so. And also repeat the same at the back, 2 inches for the facing. Next, I'm going to trace the facing out, like so. Now, because the front does have an asymmetric detail, I'm going to make 2 pieces of the front. So I'm just going to trace another part. Next, I'm going to tape it together and fold on the CF line just to around the point of the hip line, like so. On the right side of my pattern, I'm going to mark 1 inch from where I want the asymmetric detail to start. So I'll mark 1 inch there, and then towards the bottom on the hem, I'm going to measure midway on the hem line. Now in this case, the midpoint was 6.5 inch. So I'm just going to mark like so, and then use my pencil first of all to just draw that curve. Now you could use your French curve, but I like to first use my pencil to get an idea of the curve before now using my French curve to like finalize it. Next, I'm going to cut through that new line. So here the front part of the short is now in 3 parts. So I'm going to go ahead and label 1F, 2F, 3F. And on the fabric, I'm going to be cutting 1 piece each of these parts. So for fabric, I'm going to be using this mikado silk. Right now, this is like my favorite fabric to use. I like to use it for almost anything. Guys, please don't come at me. Anyways, so I've just placed out my patterns and I'm just cutting out, making sure my seam allowance is added. So towards the side, I added 1 inch, and then the waistline and on the sides, where I cut through, I added 1/2 inch. And I'm also making sure all my notches and everything is done right, like so. Next, I'm going to cut the back part of the pattern, adding 1 inch by the side, 1/2 inch on the waist, 1/2 inch around the crotch, and then 1/2 inch around the crotch extension as well. Also making my notch. So these are my pattern pieces already cut out. Next, I'm going to go ahead and cut the facing for the waistline. So here I'm just adding 1/2 inch on all sides, 1 inch on the sides and ½ inch up and down. And I'm cutting on fold. So here I'm just laying out the pieces to show you how it's going to be sewn. So pin this part to this part and then place the other part over like so. And this is how the ruffles will be going over this part of the fabric. Now for my pleated ruffles, I didn't want mine to be as wide as the one in the original design, so I made mine a little smaller. I made it 6 inches, so which meant it would be 3 inches on fold with ½ inch seam allowance. So the size of my actual pleats turned out to be 2.5 inch. If you want yours bigger, you could definitely go ahead and do that. So here I cut several pieces, just about the one that will be enough for the amount of ruffles that I need. Next, I joined those pieces. After joining all those pieces together, and I went ahead to iron it on fold like so. So once I ironed, I did a stitch just to secure it for when I have to pleat them. Now to finish the edge of the ruffle, what I did was I loosened it a little and then faced that part in. So I just joined that with ½ inch. And turn it out like so. So I placed the ruffle at the tip of the curve on the parts that was marked 1F. That was the top part. So here I went ahead to pin the ruffles all around like so, and then I left it right above my hem allowance. So here see me marking my hem allowance to make sure the ruffles do not extend into the hem. So next I cut and also faced it the same way I did at the beginning of the ruffle. So here's what it looks like after I turned that part in. So once I did that, next thing I just joined that down with ½ inch to just secure it in place. Next I'm going to join the bottom part with ½ inch around the crotch and leaving about 2.5 inch out like so. Next I'm just going to go ahead and give that a good press. Make sure the seams are laying out super flat. And I'll be back. So here my seams are all ironed out. Next I'm going to join these two pieces together like so. First pin them in place, make sure they're secured, and then just stitch down with ½ inch. So here's what it looks like after joining. Next, I'm just going to also go ahead and give that a good press. So here's what it looks like all pressed out. Now moving to the back, I'm going to go ahead and use ½ inch to sew out the crotch, also leaving out about 2.5 inch like I did in the front. Next, I'm going to go ahead and sew my dot. In this case, my dot is going to be 5.5 inch. Although I measured 5 inch when I was drafting, but you have to consider the ½ inch seam allowance that was added to the top. So that's going to make it 5.5 inch. Next, I'm just going to go ahead and press the seams out. So here, the seams are all pressed. And next, I'm going to attach this part to the front part. Next, I'm going to lay the back piece over the front piece. Next, I'm just going to pin that in place and sew out 1 inch on the side. Now on the other side of the short, I'm going to go ahead and mark my zip length. Now here I marked 8 inches as the length of my zipper. Next, I'm just going to pin that and sew 1 inch to the bottom, like so. So here my side seams are already done. The next thing to do is to seal off the crotch area. So I'm going to pick one part of the bottom and then one part of the top on the same side, and then pin in place to secure it. So here I'm just going to stitch that down with 1 inch, like so, and then repeat the same to the other side. Now to finish the middle entirely, I'm going to go ahead and close it up like so. So here the crotch area is pretty much done. The next thing to do is to attach the ruffle on the waistline. So on the facing, I've gone ahead to add a layer of interfacing. So next I'm just going to go ahead and pin the ruffles around the waistline, like so. Next, I'm just going to stitch that down just to secure it before I place the facing over it. So to make sure the facing is put in right, I pinned the front part of the facing with the left sides facing each, and then also did the same at the back, and then just pinned it by the side. This way it's easier to, figure out. Now once I pinned them in place, I went ahead to stitch that down with 1 inch. So here I'm going to place the facing like so, right sides facing right, going into the wrong side of the fabric. Next I'm going to stitch that down with 1/2 inch. And once that is done, to top stitch, I'm going to notch around the waistline so that the facing lays a little better. So here I'm just top stitching. So this is it all done. Next I'm just going to go ahead and press that down, press around the waistline, make sure all my seams are laying flat. So here's how it looks like on the inside, just to give it one more look. Next I've gone ahead to install my zipper off camera. My zipper is in. The next thing to do now is just to finish the hem. So all I did basically was fold out my hem allowance. I ended up using 2 inches instead of 2.5 because I just wanted it a little more. So to finish the hem and the waistline, all I did was just hem with my needle and thread. So basically that's what I did all around the hem and the facing on the waistline. So guys, that's the final look. This was how it turned out. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Would you try this? And please, if you guys do, tag me on Instagram. I want to see how you guys recreate yours. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna see you in my next. Please like and subscribe. Bye.